216 of Good Luck High Five.
That's right. You're listening to a podcast that's for you if you play Magic the Gathering. Whether you're just getting into it with foundations or you've been here for a long time, we're here for you.
I'm one of your hosts, Maria.
I'm another one of your hosts, Megan.
And we have a special third voice, which you might have heard in the background.
Hello.
Tyler joining us again. You've been on a few. What number is this for you now, Tyler?
Oh, who's
4?
to say? Something like
Episode
that.
4
Yeah,
for
that
Tyler?
sounds roughly correct.
Yes. And we've got Tyler back on the show this week because last week he was here and you talked about the fact that you were going to your very first in-person pre-release with Foundations.
Very true. Very
And we just thought we couldn't leave the listeners hanging as to your experience at that pre-release. So we're going to talk about not only all three of our experience playing Foundations for the first time, but also Tyler's first experience playing Foundations and a pre-release.
Maria, how long ago was it that we went to our first in-person pre-release?
Gosh, which one was it, honestly?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm imagining as well.
I'm like, it wasn't Return to Ravnica. We did not pre-release that. That was a draft that we did.
I believe that it was Gate Crash
in Texas?
in Texas.
Yes, okay.
In Austin,
Yep.
Texas.
Yeah.
We went to an enormous.
It was huge.
It was hundreds of people.
Gosh.
It was this store that had like an outdoor of what I can only describe as an outdoor event hall.
Yes, it really was.
In which they also ran their pre-release.
And it was beautiful. They had like hanging lights out there and everything, I remember.
That actually sounds really cool.
And it was
great.
at midnight.
Yes.
Oh,
that
wow.
one was a midnight pre-release.
Yeah, so we didn't get done till like 3 or 4 in the morning, I recall.
They now let them do them at a reasonable
Yes,
time
on
on Fridays.
Fridays.
No,
They're
that's
like,
nice.
yeah, you should get to play on Friday, and you shouldn't
not
have
at
to be
midnight.
yes. You
Yes.
should not have to have the stamina of an early 20-something.
To be fair, I don't think I had a stamina of an early 20-something when I was an early 20-something.
I did, and sometimes I just think on it. I'm like, wow,
Remember
I
those
could
days?
do anything.
Yeah, that's kind of true, honestly. Yeah.
I could stay up for forever.
Yeah.
How
essentially.
many hours was the most you stayed up, like consecutively? Do you remember?
Oh, over 40.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my
Wowza.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you think about that now, and
I would die.
Yeah, at least one of your limbs would fall off.
I think I'd hit about 18 now, and then I would just be like, I'm out, tapping out.
Man, my bones hurt if I don't get a full 8.
Yeah.
A full 8. I slept 10 hours last night.
Oh, I love that. See, okay, I'm
great.
kind of on the
That's
other
great
end
for
in
you.
the sense that I never sleep more than 7 hours. I don't think
Whoa.
that's true of me for.
Your body's just like time.
I
to
don't. Well,
revive.
I don't know if that's true or not, or I'm just miserable all the time, but I'm used to it. You know what I mean?
I wish that I could sleep less. But I felt so bad for a long time because I feel like people do say, they're like, oh, as you get older, you shouldn't have to sleep so much.
Is that something people say?
People did at least used to say this.
I feel like I've heard that.
Yes.
Because you're not a growing
But
youth?
now, exactly. But now they're like, oh no, some people just need,
More.
right? Like
More
some
sleep.
people
Yeah.
are in,
Yeah.
and it turns out my natural sleep is in the 9 to 10 hour range. And if I get less than that, I feel like garbage, which is so dumb, but here we are.
I mean, kind of nice though in a way. It's probably like
You get to have
you're
more
probably doing it
dreams.
right. Yeah, truly. Yeah.
Yeah. Beds are so comfy.
I mean,
Shout out to beds, you guys.
Hey, man.
shout out to
If
beds.
you are listening to this podcast in a bed, you are doing it right.
And if you're listening to this podcast as a bed, please write to us.
Please, can we sponsor you? Casper mattresses? Good luck, I
You all remember when Casper was like a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
Do you all remember there was an article about Casper's like whole
podcast
Stranglehold.
sponsor.
whole stranglehold. Yes.
Stranglehold.
There was an article about it, about how they were also being spooky.
Oh.
Oh.
I don't remember the details.
Yeah.
Because they're a friendly ghost, perhaps?
Anyways, this is a podcast about Magic the Gathering.
Ostensibly. More or less.
More or less.
We are going to talk to you today about the pre-release, as Maria said.
Indeed.
But before we get started, thank you so much to the people who make this possible. It is no mattress that makes this possible. No.
At least as far as we're aware.
It's true. Unless one of you is a mattress, in which case we're so sorry.
am no mattress.
Thank you so much
Does
to
it
all of our
work?
patrons.
Not really.
Over at patreon.com/GLHF Magic.
You can become a patron for as little as $2 dues a month. That's our tip jar level.
That's That's right.
But if you become a patron for more than that, $5 or more, and you're new, we'll give you a pun shout out on the episode.
You get to join our Discord, which is so lovely. People talk about all kinds of things.
Truly.
I posted some behind the scenes photos from our pre-release in there, so that's the kind of quality content you can expect.
You get a little bit of like a preview. Maria posted a little preview clip.
Yeah, a little
bloopers.
A bloopers. You post bloopers in there.
Basically, if you want more community or you just want more GLHF silliness, become a patron. You get that.
Yeah, we would love to also send you longer episodes, which our producers get, early access to episode releases, which everybody does get from $5 a month or more. So just go please check it out. Community, I believe, is now, it's always so important, more important than ever, perhaps. Patreon.com/GLHF Magic. We would love to have you.
Thank you as well to our sponsor, Card Kingdom. CardKingdom.com/GLHF, the place to go if you're looking to buy some of these sick foundation singles for a new deck that you're building.
I gotta say, these cards impressed me more than I thought possible at the pre-release.
Look, save it for the podcast,
I will.
Megan, but I loved playing this set.
So did I.
Same.
So did I. It
Yeah.
was so much more fun than a normal core set, and you can buy it right now on Card Kingdom. It's available technically for pre-order for one more day, but Friday it will be out, everybody.
Go get it.
Go check them out. Remember to use the link cardkingdom.com/GLHF. If you're buying singles, they ship your singles to you in one order, so you're not getting 10 different orders in the mail, some of them getting lost, or just being stressed out about when does it arrive, because that's the Card Kingdom way. So check them out, cardkingdom.com/GLHF.
And finally, thank you to our sponsor, Dragon Shield. They're 6 sleeves, man.
Truly.
What can I say? Used them at the pre-release.
Yep.
Reuse them all the time for Commander Arcade.
Yep.
We don't even, we have so many sleeves that we wouldn't have to reuse them, but it just feels great to reuse something that is reusable.
Yeah.
And a Dragon Shield sleeve, it's reusable, man.
So true. Remember last pre-release, friends and family, I was complimented on my Dragon Shield sleeves every single round.
Yeah.
I want you to guess what happened this time.
You were complimented on them every single round.
That is correct.
Hey.
Every single round again. So go check them out. I have the Starry Night with the dragon in them. That's so very cool. And last week, Tyler and I talked about the new sleeves that they have, which are the 25th Special Edition matte dual sleeves red gold, where the inside is gold and the outside is rose
nice.
Very
colored.
pretty.
They're so cool. So
Yes.
I want to try those. We have a shipment coming in today from Dragon Shield, and I'm so hopeful that it's these because I want to try them out.
Perhaps you will see them on a future Commander Arcade.
Indeed. So yeah, go check out Dragon Shield. Please use the link in the show notes or underneath the YouTube video for whatever you want to buy. That's our affiliate link. And use code GLHF for 5% off at checkout. Before we head into the show this week, I want to let you all know that we have a new social media account over on Blue Sky.
Ah, yes. Blue Sky.
So go follow us there. It's lovely.
Please.
It's
Yes.
not run by a billionaire trying to take over our government.
Yet.
And it
Blue
just
Sky.
works better as well.
It also
It does
do you know
work
what?
better.
Okay, I will say, and I've been trying to tell
We're at GLHF Magic, by the way.
professional spaces this for a while, which is that I have noticed the most substantial decline in engagement over on Twitter.
Oh,
That
absolutely.
it's absurd.
Yeah.
And it includes on my personal account, like I have 12 times the followers on Twitter, in theory, on Twitter.
Uh-huh.
My post there got almost a 0.
Right?
I posted over on Blue Sky where I have literally 1/12 of the follower count.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was actually people like engaging.
Interacting.
Exactly.
Responding.
There was like, yes, there was actual engagement, and I could be like, yes, we are in fact. This is not just like shouting into a void. This is engaging with community about something that I wanted to talk to them about.
Which, what a novel idea.
Exactly.
I mean, it's wonderful. I think that a lot of people have been, I'm going to raise my hand here, kind of putting off the transition, knowing someday it's going to happen, but I don't want to lose the community that I built, 16K or whatever followers and all the people I follow.
brags.
No big deal. Whatever. And so I've been putting it off. And then the other day I made the jump and I'm like, not that I don't still kind of occasionally check Twitter or whatever, but you're right. Everything was the people I want to see are there. I can see the things I want and interact. I post something and people actually witness it.
Hey.
I've been trying to make this happen for a year, and it happened. And if Maria can do it, let me tell you,
Anyone
can do
can.
it.
Yeah, that's so
you
true.
can do it if
Yes.
Maria can.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah, it's wonderful over there. So if you've been like me delaying checking it out, I suggest that you do and come and follow us. We're at GLHF Magic. We've got 3 banger posts for you right now.
But that's gonna go up exponentially. You know?
Exactly.
Exponential growth, which is how it works for sure.
Well, you can say that in the short term. You can say
when
that.
When you're at 3, you
Yeah.
can say
Yes.
exponential because
Yes.
it's easy to exponent
Yeah,
from
yeah. The
there.
exponenting is like very natural
It's
and organic.
very easy to
Yeah.
exponent.
Once you get to like 10 or more, then it becomes
Tough.
Harder to
you don't.
exponent.
Then,
Yeah.
Okay. Slight aside. When I was younger, we had a dog who lived for.
I don't know how.
Hey, get ready.
I'm ready
this
for
is
the
gonna
ride.
go
Strap it
someplace.
in.
All
This
right.
dog lived
Your Honor,
a long
this
time.
better be going somewhere.
It lived a long time. It was a black lab, and my sister decided, like, in the last couple years of its life, I think it was like 12 years old, and my sister was like, "I'm gonna make you a birthday cake, and every year it's gonna get exponentially more layers to it." And the dog, it was like 2 to begin with, and then it was 4, and then it was 16, and then the dog, like, rest its soul, did pass away after that. But if it hadn't, it was going to be like a massive cake. Like the cake was going to be truly
Wow.
dog
ungovernable.
knew.
Also, I just want to say it is so bold of your sister to have set an exponential cake and started at 2.
Yes.
Just
yes.
start at
I
1,
know.
babe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're
Yeah.
right. You're right.
Bold move.
Give
Yeah.
yourself a year to grow.
That 16-layer cake, though, the layers were pretty thin because we didn't want to. The dog was old already, and we really didn't want the dog to
Die of a big
of
cake.
big cake. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
was the flavor of this cake?
It was. I honestly can't say. I think there was like. It was definitely a dog recipe. So it wasn't. It was not. I should have
Made
prefaced
by
with that.
a dog
Yeah, it was
chef.
made by a dog chef, and then my
Yes.
sister was recreating that dog chef recipe so that it again wasn't going to kill the dog prematurely in celebration.
Oh, very nice.
So
feel like-
that's what I
yeah.
think of when I think of exponential things.
You could do like those crepe cakes,
Yes.
That
Yeah.
was-
Oh,
I feel like
yeah.
after 16, you would
That's
need
a good.
to switch
Yeah,
to crepe
you're,
cake.
you're right. And hopefully we would have found that solution because we were really sweating it there for a little while because
It was so polite of your dog to pass away
Well,
before.
it-
The dog,
I mean,
it knew
yeah.
that was ungovernable, as you say.
yeah, exactly.
It's time to talk about the Foundation's pre-release.
Yeah.
Tyler, this was your very first in-person pre-release experience. What was it like?
It was just really, really enjoyable. I don't know what else to say other than that. It's I had spent as I think I mentioned on the last show I was on, I had have spent a lot of time playing Magic by myself, and I always enjoy it so much more when I play with other people. And just going there and meeting
Yeah.
people. And everyone's excited, and everyone is kind of like, wants to talk about their deck a little bit. And it's so win or lose, you get to have kind of a conversation with someone. And I love having conversations with people. And when someone like at the end of the first game, the person I was sitting across from, we were talking, and he was like, "Hey, I think I want to do a little tinkering here." And he kind of like laid his deck out, and he went through it, and we chatted a little bit about it, and it was just such a lovely experience. I just was like, oh. Now, of course, you're not going to be friends with everyone that you play with. Like, I can't say that that's going to happen. But, like, this person, he and I checked in a few times in between rounds. And at the end, he came up to me and said, "Hey, how'd you do?" And said how he did. And it was just, like, a really lovely. He had said, I was playing 3 colors, and then I switched to 2. And, like, it went so much better after that. And I just love that. It was just really, really nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Such a great story.
Yeah, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Were you ever intimidated or spooked?
I don't know if I was spooked, but I will say I did have to play amateur pro Greg in the final rounds, and he is an intimidating player for sure. I think like
He's good at this
and I had
game.
seen a little bit of his deck, and I knew that it had a coma in it, and I definitely did get comaed twice. So
You know
that
what?
did happen to me.
Sometimes we all get
Sometimes
coma.
it just happened
Yeah,
to you.
sometimes it happens.
You
to
get coma.
Yeah, but so yeah. I would say. But Greg is also so nice that like I wasn't spooked, but perhaps a bit intimidated.
What was the experience like because you are primarily an arena player playing in real life?
Definitely triggers don't happen automatically. So that is a PSA that I will share with people, which you may or may not know.
Yeah.
There was, and again, the people that I was playing with were very kind. I would say I remembered most of them, but for the most part, people were like, hey, maybe you want to do this? And I was like, why, yes, I do. Thank you so much. And I tried to do this. I tried to return the favor when I noticed that happening. So that again was just like this really nice thing of, oh yeah, you're competing. There is, obviously everyone wants to win, and that's a part of why you're sitting down to play. But also it's more about that community or that like back and forth there, and it makes you feel that way when someone's like, hey, I'm not going to just ruthlessly allow you to miss this thing that would be good for you, because this is how the game theoretically in its best version should work, and I want to play the best game I can. So
I happen to agree with you that pre-release is the best version of playing Magic.
Hey, yeah.
I mean, because people are like that. I hope at your pre-release they're like that, where hey, you missed a trigger, you want to do that? Oh, I forgot to play a land. Oh, go ahead, play a land.
Exactly.
Like whatever. I tap my mana wrong. Take it back. Sure, tap your mana right. I just think that's to me anyway. That's kind of like ideal Magic. Like where we're not falling over backwards trying to hope our opponent misses their trigger or whatnot.
Yes.
Like in more competitive play, but. Regardless, what a fantastic experience for you, and I'm very happy that you're able to finally have it after we first planned doing this 4 years ago.
it's very true.
What happened between now and then?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't recall.
Was there big event?
I think I can't recall for for reasons that have to do with my mental health.
Yes,
indeed.
Fair enough.
So Tyler, tell us about what you built.
So I did build a red-white aggressive deck, which I always, whenever I would say, from my perspective, if you have the opportunity to build an aggressive pool in sealed, which you definitely don't always, because sometimes you're just not going to get enough 2-drops in the colors that you want to play, et cetera, et cetera. But if you do have that opportunity, I do think it gives you like a big leg up, because I think a lot of the time in sealed, people are coming out fairly slowly. And if you just curve 1, 2, 3, which I did a couple times, you're going to win a lot of those games. Like,
I got to say, Tyler, this is not like what you often hear people tell you to do in sealed.
Yeah. And I will say to hedge against what I just said, I will say that a lot of the time your pool is not going to want you to build an aggressive, or you're not going to want to be building an aggressive deck, just because you're not going to have enough of those good or like playable 2-drops to make that work. And you don't want to play a bad aggressive deck in sealed, because if you can't come out relatively quickly a fair amount of the time, you are going to get run over by the people who are just playing their best cards. And if you can't get a good advantage by like the second or third turn of the game, then eventually that other person who's just playing their better cards is going to have the advantage against you. But truly for me, the absolute ideal is that you have like a pretty good aggressive pool, because if you can build that kind of a deck, like I said, I just think you have
punish them.
Yeah, it's not exactly what I would have said, but yes, I mean essentially, yeah.
Your deck does have one way if they have even if you make it to the late game.
Yeah, that is true.
You have one pretty powerful card here.
Yeah, true. I do have this Dracaset, this 7-drop, which again I wouldn't recommend playing in all your aggressive decks. If you're like in draft or something like that, maybe you don't want to put a 7-drop in your deck. But again, sealed is a little bit slower, a little less streamlined. You don't get to pick all the cards that you are working with, and so sometimes you just have that one or maybe even 2 powerful cards that you want to put in your deck, because if you might get enough of an advantage that you're ahead, but like the board stalls out a little bit, and then if you can drop a big huge dragon that deals damage to them on attacks, like
I just want to read this card.
Yeah, will you please read it? It's ridiculous.
I had to read this card several times just because it says a lot of things.
It says a lot of things, and more than you would think.
More than you would think. 4 red, 7/7. Flying legendary creature dragon. Whenever Dracaset attacks, it deals 4 damage to any target and 3 damage to each of up to 2 other targets.
Yowza.
Illegal.
That's 10 damage.
Yeah.
If there's 3 available targets, you are dealing 10 damage.
Plus the 7 damage.
Plus the 7 of this big boy.
So if you point it all face, you can deal 17 damage in one attack. So you really, again, if you know what I mean? Like if if let's say things have gone relatively well for you and your aggressive deck has gotten them down to a reasonable life total,
you just for their face while you're attacking them with this 7/7.
Exactly, and whether they can block or not, they have a problem. Yeah.
17, yeah.
Yeah.
This card is sick.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, and I would say other highlights from the deck: Heroic Reinforcements, which is 2 red and a white sorcery. It reads, create 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens until end of turn. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain haste. So that card, just if you've got a decent board out there, I mean, it makes 2 2/2s on that first turn it comes down, which for 4 mana, 2 2/2 hasters is already good. Gives the whole rest of your team +1/+1. And if you've had played anything else that turn, it also gives it haste. So it really is a card that can end games in a out of nowhere kind of a fashion for sure. And I'll also call out Kellen Planar Trailblazer.
Ooh, new
And this is
card.
a 1-drop that is a new card from Foundations. And this card also has a lot of text on it, so I will read it. It is kind of a level up style card. So it's a 1 red mana 2/1 legendary creature, Human Fairy Scout. And you can pay 1 in a red, and if it is a scout, it becomes a Human Fairy Detective and gains when Kellen deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn, so it gives you a little card advantage from your 1-drop potentially. And then if that level up has happened, you can then pay 2 in a red. And it says if Kellen is a detective, it becomes a 3/2 Human Fairy Rogue and gains double strike. So it's drawing you 2 cards,
Wow.
Nice.
virtual 2 cards every turn if it connects in that fashion. And I had that card when it comes down on 1. I was able to keep some kind of questionable hands because I had that in my opener hand, and I knew that even if I didn't draw a 2-drop, I would at least have something to do with my mana. And there were 2 separate games where I had this down. I didn't have a play on turn 2 or 3. And I was still able to win those games because of this card. So if this comes down on 1.
It has some nice text on it at 2 and 3.
It really does. It really does. So, yeah.
And your removal here.
Yes. Great. Yeah. Great to point out. So Fire Annihilation, 2 in a red for an instant, and it deals 5 damage to target creature. You can exile up to 1 target equipment attached to that creature. That did not come up in my games, but
Interesting.
actually the only equipment that anyone played against me was Swiftfoot boots, and that
It doesn't matter. Do not matter.
This text is not applicable in that
Yeah,
situation,
indeed.
unfortunately. And then it also says if that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. So it's just very efficient. Kills the creature, and also gets it completely out of the game. So if there's any kind of graveyard synergies, that they don't apply. And so that's a very good piece of removal. I would say these Luminous Rebukes, less good in an aggressive deck. Part of why I play them was I have a fair number of flying creatures. I have kind of like a little angel package in this deck. There's a Youthful Valkyrie, which is a 1 in a white 1/3 with flying, and whenever another angel you control enters, you put a +1/+1 counter on the Youthful Valkyrie. And I also had 3 Dazzling Angels, which are 2 in a white for a 2/3 flyer. And whenever another creature you control enters, you gain 1 life. And I also had an Angel of Finality, 3 in a white, flying. When this creature enters, exile target player's graveyard. So I will say, unfortunately, that never came together. I never was able to play the Youthful Valkyrie on 2 and then play out the rest of those
dream.
cards. Which,
Alas.
I know, sad, but also very satisfying to know it could have happened.
Yes.
That. Like sometimes,
Yes.
I honestly
Yes.
building the decks is often the most fun thing for me. Especially if I'm just playing on Arena, and I love those little kind of like pocket synergies that you can get in decks like these. Long story short, though, I probably would have thought twice about playing Luminous Rebuke if I'd had fewer flyers, because it is not like the best removal for an aggressive deck. It's 4 in a white. This spell costs 3 less to cast if it targets a tapped creature. It's an instant, and then the text, other than that, is just destroy target creature. So it works for 2 mana if it's a tapped creature, but obviously in an aggressive deck, you're the one that wants to be tapping your creatures more often than not. So it's not as good at getting a blocker out of the way unless you've got that full 5 mana, which is not the cheapest to pay for a removal spell. So.
I will point out that you have 8 creatures here that are 2 drops or lower, which is very nice. One of them Savannah Lions, which, hey, welcome back, old friend.
I know, yeah. It was fun to play that on turn 1 a few times too. Yeah.
2/1 for 1 white mana.
Yeah.
And you have 3 combat tricks. So that's just what I want to put into people's heads for building and sealed, like thinking about that kind of a low end curve. Like that's what Tyler is talking about when you're trying to make a successful aggressive deck in a sealed environment. That kind of stuff is pretty necessary. To get those dubs.
Absolutely. And the last card I will call out, I'll keep talking about it forever, but I feel I
Yes,
should
indeed.
Let's hear it.
Is this Soulstone Sanctuary. So this is a creature land, but it's kind of a unique one. So it taps for a colorless, and it also has Pay 4, colorless. This land becomes a 3/3 creature with vigilance and all creature types. It's still a land, but it does not turn back into just a land. It doesn't stop being a creature at the end of your turn. So if you pay this 4 mana, this is a creature for the rest of the game.
Nice.
So good.
And that really did. There were a few games where that came in really in handy. And to have, I was playing 8 mountains, 8 plains, and then this. So for the total of 17, but with this kind of like a land and a spell at the same time. So that was a nice card a few times too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on your very first pre-release.
Thank you.
So sorry that you got comaed, but that's like part of
That's
the
all
experience.
right. I will say I got to play. I went 3-1 overall, and I got to play Greg in the last round, so it was very exciting. And I went to 3 games, and it was a great match. And the second game, I had won the first game, and the second game I came very very close to getting there. But Greg had boarded in 2 broken wings, and used the second broken wings to kill my Dracoset after it came down, and that's how close that game was. So it was a very exciting, very fun game. So so I was very pleased with the overall experience for sure.
Well, Tyler, do you feel like you did a bug bite you when you went to this pre-release?
No, and I'm glad it didn't.
No. You're
No,
misunderstanding.
okay, I get it. Yes,
A metaphorical
would I like to
bug.
go back to a pre-release? Absolutely.
Okay, that was my question.
So, yeah, I mean, I
Or just like in-person I don't know.
how about I
Beyond
caught a disease? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
did you catch a disease at this pre-release?
Tyler, do you think you caught a disease
Yeah.
at this pre-release?
The best
Look,
disease of all.
We're all so diseased.
Just a reminder, you can still mask.
And yes, truly, that is a great thing to say. And yes, you can and should.
And you can also, if you're at the pre-release, I mean, I would argue it's already too late for you on the disease of Magic the Gathering front.
Very
But
true. Very
you never
true.
know. We've swapped Megan into the hot seat here to talk about your deck.
This is my deck. It is black-white. It is a life gain deck. And it was so
it
fun.
looks great.
Yes,
It
I
was
love
so
the look of
fun.
it.
So some of the highlights here, I obviously, Liliana Dreadhorde General.
She come to you.
She here. I will say, I think I only played her once. Like, I only cast her once. But obviously, she was great.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When she was there. Do you know what? Gosh, I love a burglar rat.
Yeah.
Look at these little rats.
Yes.
It's a great
This is a
sealed
1/1.
card.
When this creature enters, each opponent discards a card. And it really worked out for me because I have some things like I have this hungry ghoul that wants you to sacrifice creatures. So you can pay 1 to sacrifice another creature and put a +1/+1 counter on it.
This is the card that at pre-release Tyler referred to as a steel and sack or something like that. And I thought he was talking about the card name. So I'm like, wait, they named a card Steel Sack?
I will also say I was talking about that and the red. I can't
Yes.
remember the title.
Oh,
but
yeah.
The, oh man, never mind. Whatever they call those cards, the steel cards. Those were the 2 cards I was talking
I
about.
just thought that would be a pretty
Yes,
ballsy
that'd be
name.
very funny.
No pun intended for a card. Go on, Megan.
I have this Arbiter of Woe that as an additional cost, you sacrifice a creature. So anyways, they just did a good job.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had someone counter a burglar rat because they were so mad about it. Well, it was, to be fair, it
No,
was like the
that's out
third
of
time I
spite.
had cast it.
Sure, so they
Well, because I had bounced it with this mischievous
Yeah.
pup, right? I had been like, okay,
Gross.
here we go. Like on their
Really
turn, I like,
mischievous pup.
I like chumped with the rat, but then like put in the pup to like
Yeah.
bounce the rat to my hand and then played it again. And then they countered it, but then I had this Sunblessed Healer.
Oh, yeah.
Which is
Which-
1 and a white for a 3/1 lifelink, but it has Kicker for 1 and a white. When it enters, if it was kicked, return target non-land permanent card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Every time I saw
So
this
just
cat,
rest-
it was good.
I mean, it's an excellent
card.
2-drop. Like,
Yeah, really good.
Like, because 2 mana, 3/1 lifelink already good, but
Yes.
and the kicker brings it back to the battlefield. Like
Exactly.
that's so strong. Like,
so I was just like, they countered the rat, and I was like, look, I'm really sorry to tell you this, but like,
But,
the rat here.
the rat
The
come
rat
back.
here anyways.
the rat back. Yeah.
Just take
Yeah.
this card. It's so good.
Anyways, and obviously, like I said, I really did have like a life gain sub theme. I had the Dazzling Angel, which when a creature enters, you gain a life. I had this Vanguard Seraph, which whenever you gain life for the first time each turn, surveil 1. Obviously, very nice. And then, I mean, most importantly, this Exemplar of Light. This card is just busted.
Truly.
This is 2 white for a 3/3 flying angel. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. okay. And whenever you put one or more +1/+1 counters on this creature, draw a card.
What?
This ability
What?
triggers only once each turn.
Nasty.
So, but you get all the counters. Like the counters aren't once a turn. Only the draw card is. So, anyways, sometimes I'd be like, "Here's a 3/3." Immediately, it's like a 4/4 flyer, and I draw a card.
Yes.
So good. My very favorite win though was I played this card, Midnight Snack. This is 2 and a black for an enchantment. It has raid. At the beginning of your end step, if you attacked this turn, create a food token.
Nice.
So you don't even have to have connected. You just have to have attacked.
Oh, wow.
Like it.
Yeah.
2 and a black, sacrifice this enchantment. Target opponent loses X life, where X is the amount of life you gained this turn.
Okay.
My last round, so I only played 3 rounds. Then I went to the batting cages, and it was amazing.
Great decision. Great decision.
It's just what I was doing with my day.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, but I went 3-0 in my 3 rounds, and the first 2 it was 2-0.
It was a clean.
It was a clean
kill.
2-0. I described to you all my deck as ruthless.
Yeah, that is what you said.
Which I maintain. It was basically like, you need to be doing something good and your deck needs to do it, or else I'm just gonna
Take over.
I'm just gonna run you over pretty hard. So in the 3rd round, I did lose the first game. They had like a Wrath. And they had a Kato. And that match was really good. Like the second one, I just like got off the ground like really fast. They stumbled a little, and like I said, the deck is ruthless. So I just like, it happened. And then in the 3rd game, they were at 8. But I had this Midnight Snack in play. And then I also had this Vengeful Blood Witch. So this is a 1/1. Whenever this creature or another creature you control dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life.
Okay.
So they were at 8, and I couldn't get any damage through.
Yeah.
But I had a Burglar Rat, I had this Sunblessed Healer, which has lifelink, and I had this Vengeful Blood Witch, and I had a Midnight Stack and 3 foods.
Oh my gosh.
So I literally just attacked with everything. They have to block because nothing can get through.
Yeah.
But like I get this lifelink trigger, I get 2 different dies triggers from the
Yeah.
Vengeful Blood Witch.
Yep.
And then I sacked 2 foods and then sacked this Midnight Snack and drained them.
Pretty
And it
good.
was just like,
all
it was such a good match. It was like very close. They had their Kato out in play, and I was just trying to I was only attacking their face because I was like, I just need to get this done with. And it was just like such a satisfying, like the deck did its thing, you know, it did the life gain paid off. It wasn't just value, it was the way to kill them. It was so fun.
Beautiful.
So
Wow.
anyways, I had a really great time. I was talking with someone like, I love the feel of a core set.
Yeah.
And this does feel like a core set, but it's just a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just
Right?
turned up a
everything-
little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything's just a little bit better. And so I just went like hard flyers, right? I just had a lot of flyers because when you're in a core set, you can just play flyers
Yeah,
sometimes.
and that's good. Yeah.
And you just attack them in the air.
Yeah.
I had the feeling when I was opening my pre-release packs, I kept being like, wow, this card is good. Oh,
Yeah.
wow, this card is good. This card is good. And it just felt like the power level is just what I've wanted, I guess, from a
Yeah.
core set for a long time. I don't think it's too complicated what was going on.
No, it's not complicated, but it is good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really
So
nice.
If you're on the fence about trying it out, I gotta say, I think this set is a winner for real.
Really, really good.
Same.
Ooh, I also opened 2 Phyrexian Arenas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never got to cast one though.
Oh my god.
You know that I want to.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
we
At
all
the
want
beginning of
to.
your upkeep, you draw a card.
Man.
And you lose 1 life, but
Yeah,
who
but
cares?
who? Yeah.
Whatever.
Quite
That's-
frankly.
yeah. Especially in a life game
In a
deck,
life
like
game
kind of
deck,
mitigates a lot
yes.
of the downside. Yeah.
Oh, anyways, really, I had such a good time. And I really loved this deck. It was just so
Seems
it was
sweet.
straightforward. And the synergy, it can be hard sometimes in a sealed pool to get the synergy right. But I had enough life gain stuff that it did just happen for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah,
which
that's
I was
really great.
Really loved.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take a look at my little deck over here.
Yeah.
Well, fam, here's my deck from the pre-release. This is a green-black beauty. And when I say beauty, I'm going to use that word very loosely. As I had the Gentleman's Tutu at the pre-release.
Ah, yes.
Have yet to break that curse in I think like something like 5 or 6 pre-releases.
Gentleman's tutu.
You know, I just like to keep things even.
Yeah.
But I built a little elf deck, which you mentioned synergies just now in this set. And I think that somehow it feels like we are stumbling into them with more regularity than perhaps you should in a core set, which I think bodes
interesting.
very well for this in draft and sealed.
Yeah.
And, I mean, small sample size, but maybe we're able to do that more easily in this set for some reason.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But I was pushed in this direction because I did open a Lathril Blade of the Elves. I love this card. This is 2 black-green for a 2/3 legendary elf noble. She has menace, and whenever she deals combat damage to a player, I make that many 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens. But the best part about her, which I always am tempted to do, is you can tap 10 untapped elves you control to 10 the opponent.
Great.
And you gain 10, which is really fun.
It's very good.
And I don't know, the most number of elves I ever had out, I think was 4 or something. So the dream was not real.
Sure,
But,
yeah.
it's always kind of just there in the back of your mind. So that was wonderful. But she was supported by Dwinnen. That's my Welsh showing. Giltleaf Dane, 3/4 legendary elf warrior with reach. Other elf creatures you control get +1/+1. And whenever she attacks, you gain 1 life for each attacking elf you control. So that was one of my elf lords. But I had a second elf lord.
Hey.
Yes, that's right.
Wow.
Elvish Archdruid Megan was in my deck.
Oh, love an
You have
Elvish
some
Archdruid.
memories with this card.
Yeah, I do.
2/2 elves get +1/+1, and you can tap him to add green for each elf you control, which is pretty sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. You also have 2 Spinner of Souls.
Yes.
Yes.
And this card is quite good.
It is great. You were watching my games,
Yes.
and you reminded me that I missed one of its triggers once.
Because
Thank
I
you.
was like, how dare you? This trigger is so good.
This is a great trigger.
See, in Maria's
Please
mind,
respect the spider's trigger.
I was like, I'm already playing a 4/3 for 3. I've got my
come
value.
on. This is all
Yeah.
I need.
What more do I need? So this is Reach. It's a Spidey, of course. But whenever another non-token creature dies, you get to just like reveal cards from the top of your library until you find a creature card and you get to draw it. So
I think
nice.
that this card is so good.
Yeah.
it's great.
It's very good.
Very, very
probably
good.
especially in black green because you've got some probably like slight sacrifice
Yes.
things going on, or at the very least you have some creatures that you don't mind dying.
Right. And that was my sub-theme of this deck was sacrifice. Snackifice, if you will. That theme could have been stronger, I'll be the first to say.
Yeah, sure.
In this list, I had reassembling Skellington as one of my lovely little sacrifice cards, which you can revive him for 1 and a black. And I also had a Vengeful Blood Witch.
Yeah.
And 2 copies of Infestation Sage, which is an elf PS.
Yeah,
I
which
want
is
you to know.
really nice.
And when it dies, you make a 1/1 insect that has flying, which is pretty cool. Beastkin Ranger was a card my opponents really were intent on removing whenever it came into play. So I want to call it out. It has great stats for a common. It's 2 and a green for a 3/3 with trample. Whenever another creature you control enters, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn.
That
So-
card is good.
Yeah.
If you're playing
There
with
you go.
elves, you're making more elves, you're
Yeah.
entering, boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom. This guy has trample.
And
Watch
you
out.
had another thing I'd call out about your deck is you
Yes.
have a lot of very good to great 3-drops, and you have a copy of Llanowar Elves, and so
Yes,
I feel like those games when
do.
Llanowar Elves could come down on 1, you could play one of those 3-drops ahead of curve. Like that feels like you're gonna win a lot of those
100%.
games.
Yes, totally. And that's why, my opponent would stab my Llanowar elf right off the bat.
Yeah. Well, shoot.
-2,
Sometimes you
-2.
just got to stab an elf.
Yeah.
You really
Christmas
do.
is coming up. Didn't get what you wanted.
Stab an elf.
Not so jolly
We do
anymore,
not-
are you?
We do not endorse stabbing
We do
an
not
elf.
endorse nor condone stabbing elves, regardless of how bad your gifts
Regardless of what you got for Christmas.
We are not a medical podcast. And then the other thing I want to mention with in regards to elves and sacrifice is Elfsworn Giant, which is a 5/3 for 5 mana, 3 green with reach. But its landfall trigger is really bonk towns. Landfall, you make an elf.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
nice. Yeah.
play your Evolving Wilds, children. I also had our preview card in this deck. Quake
Aw.
Strider, Ceratops, the 12/8.
He's just a big lad.
He's a large
Big,
lad.
and
Hey,
I would
guys.
say also very cute.
Very
So
cute.
cute.
Quite cute.
No trample though.
Yeah, that
Get
is.
with it, buddy.
I mean, if that card did have trample,
What would
it
it
would
cost?
not be. I was
What
going
would
to
it
say it would
cost?
not be
A
or
6-drop?
an
It's not-
uncommon.
yeah.
it would not
be
be
a
an
rare.
uncommon. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. I mean, it's still not anywhere near what Coma says on the card.
True.
And,
No.
just if
True.
you want to sleep tonight, just don't read that card.
Do you want to sleep tonight? Don't read Coma.
So true.
But yeah, that's it's still at the very least that Triceratops is very very large.
Is Triceratops.
Yeah. Nice.
My other rare that this deck was running was Abyssal Abyssal, not abysmal,
Yeah.
not at all. Abyssal Harvester, which is a 3/2 for 1 black demon warlock, and then you tap it to exile a card that went into your graveyard this turn, and it come back as a nightmare. And so you just get a copy of it, but you can only have one of those kinds of nightmares on the battlefield at any given time. But pretty good value there.
Just like in life.
Just like
Yeah.
them.
You
Just
can
take
only
your-
have one kind of nightmare at a time. That's not true. You
Man,
can
it'd
have
be
a
great if it
nightmare
was,
that's
though.
multiple
oh,
kinds
man,
of nightmare.
If only that card, that card,
Oh,
if
man,
only it
it's so
applied to real
true.
life, that would be really
Yeah.
nice.
I had a
actually.
nightmare
nice.
last night that I won't
no.
talk about on this podcast
Okay.
because the feds might come after me.
Oh my
Wow. Okay.
Infernal
Interesting.
Vessel is my final call out from this deck. I love this card. Have you seen this card? You heard about this? 2 and a black for a 2/1 human cleric. When it die, it become demon. It comes back with 2 plus 1
Oh,
plus
I
1
saw you
counters on
play
it.
with this card, and this card was absurd.
It's
Yeah.
so good. It's
wow.
so good.
It's a 2/1 that comes back as a 4/3 when
4/3.
it dies.
The end.
You don't even have to do anything.
No,
it just does
it just
it.
does it.
Like,
Very
here I
annoying.
am.
It's one of those cards that's very annoying to deal with. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yes.
Because you just it makes you think in a different way than you're used to thinking about like blocks and attacks. It's just like you're like, oh man, come on,
Woof.
Yeah.
don't play that card.
I had 4 removal spells, Stab, as I mentioned, Hero's Dawnfall, and 2 Bake into a Pie.
Excellent removal.
So great removal package. So I think the problem with this deck where it fell apart was the fact that its lower side of its curve was just too heavy at 3. We just didn't have
Yeah.
the 1 or 2 drops that
Yeah.
it needed. I mean, these sages are like whatever. Like they really want to be in a sacrifice deck, not necessarily in this.
It's nice
elf
that you
deck.
have the elf synergies for sure, but
Yeah.
that's certainly where they shine.
Yeah. So it was a very fun deck to pilot. It just didn't quite fall in the right place where it should have curve wise. But like I said, what a joy to be able to build a synergistic elf deck in a sealed environment without too much trouble.
Yeah.
I think was really a highlight for me of the pre-release. And like I always say, all of my opponents, every single one of them was excellent, with the exception of my 4th round opponent, whose name is Nels, and he might be on our show called Commander Arcade. That guy's real wily. Got to watch
Real
out for him.
piece of work.
It was crazy because they actually had to separate the two of you. Like, at the end, there was just that the whole last round stopped because there was just two people screaming at each
Yeah,
other.
we
and-
did have a fist fight in the store.
Nels, famous for being some guy we know.
So true. Wow, I'm so short in the middle. I'm just
You
noticing
really are
this.
quite short. And it's the chair. It's
yeah,
you're
the
sitting
chair
on
is
the
for
short
sure
chair.
part of
You
it, yeah.
guys, my torso isn't normally this small.
Yeah.
There we go. That's
Hey,
better.
nice,
but now
nice.
my feet don't reach the floor.
Well, you didn't need to tell everyone that.
Okay, I did. I'm an open book. An open book. But overall, I was so happily surprised with how wonderful Foundations felt to play at the
Yeah.
pre-release. And everyone, I encourage you to check it out. It just seems like, in my opinion, it's like we did a core set, but we like hit it right. We did it right. And what I mean is that it falls into the place where it's living up to the packaging, which is it's easy for newer players. If you want to teach your friends, it's a great set to introduce them to, but it's not boring for experienced players.
Yeah.
So I give it a big thumbs up from Good Luck High Five, Maria's mouth. I didn't want to speak for everybody.
I give it a thumbs up as well.
Okay.
Same.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely
all
the
right.
same. Yeah, I think it feels. Admittedly, the only sad part about it is that it's now the last time we'll get this type of a set for
that's true.
That's true.
approximately
Maybe forever.
approximately the rest of our lives, and so that's the only downside. But I totally agree with everything you said. And there's also that like starter pack that they sell with this that like feels like such an insane value. It's like $60, and
Do you mean the starter collection?
yeah.
Yeah.
And like it
Really good
that
value.
thing, yeah, it's
I
almost like a
agree.
little cube in a box, honestly. Like, and you can treat it that way. You can build decks out of it. Like, it feels like that's like the kind of product that people have been asking for them to release for a while, and I think that will also add to the appeal of this set.
Indeed. And Megan and I do have a starter collection that we built some decks from, everybody, that you can see on our Good Luck High Five YouTube channel. If you don't believe us, it's actually a delight to build decks and
is.
play it
Really
from that starter collection. Yeah. I feel like I was going to say something else, but now the thought has flown my coop brain. Oh, the fact that so we said Foundations was legal until like 2027,
9?
29,
I don't know.
2029.
Yeah, something like that.
But apparently, what it is that it's just legal until they decide, like, hey, we are going to do something else.
different.
This
Yeah.
again?
And
Oh.
but they gave an estimate of
They
5-ish
did.
years,
Yes,
right? Like,
yes.
but yeah,
That was
it could
their
be-
guess.
I feel like Mark Rosewater also said it could be longer than that. So
Yeah, he did. So that's an update to that, everyone. This could be around for a long time if it continues to make sense.
It's
So
got some nice classics.
Yeah,
got some
it
good
really
all-time
value,
does.
bang
Yeah.
for your buck there as well.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. That's our show this week. Thank you so much for joining us, Tyler.
Yes,
and talking
thank
about
you,
your
Tyler.
very
Truly
first.
my pleasure, and thanks. Yeah, I mean, it was
Yeah.
it was great to get to go to a pre-release with the two of you, and it was it just-
Oh, it's such
really
a good
was.
time.
Yeah.
It
This is-
was.
if you've been waiting for a sign that you should try a pre-release, this is it.
Yes, or
This
to
is it.
teach your friends magic.
Yes.
Yes,
I mean, what a
yes.
great
This
set
is
to do
it.
it with.
Thank you again
Thank you,
so
everybody.
much to everyone who makes this possible. All of our patrons over at patreon.com/GLHF Magic, cardkingdom.com/GLHF, and Dragon Shield. Just, go get some nice sleeves.
Treat yourself.
Go get some compliments.
And yeah. Essentially, you're buying a compliment.
There you go.
And-
Think about
and,
it.
Yeah, and really cheap for a compliment. I would
Really
say.
So
cheap for a
true.
compliment.
So true. Especially if you use code GLHF at checkout for 5% off.
Hey.
Have you heard like that guys say if they get a compliment, they remember it for like 10 years of their life?
Whoa.
Wow.
Tyler, is this true?
I don't know. I don't feel like I remember anything for 10 years of my life, but maybe.
Fair enough, yeah. Not even my own name, quite
Yeah,
frankly.
exactly. Every like 9 years, I have to really start
So
to
you, like,
study
write
it
it
again.
down
yes,
and, like,
yes,
look
yes.
at it?
Yes, yes.
Everybody, thank you to our patrons, patreon.com/GLHF Magic. Did you already say that?
I did.
Okay, well, I'm thanking you again because that's how important it is,
Okay, well,
y'all.
That's not illegal. You can thank me.
Yeah.
Okay,
If you're a
great.
producer, stick around for a story about one of our new favorite videos.
Truly a delight.